Hey guys, welcome to this new video in my Open Core Hackintosh series. Today we're going to look at something that's a bit of a pain, unfortunately, but once you understand how it works, it's really not that complicated. And we're talking about fixing CFG Lock. For this video, we'll be following the excellent Open Core Vanilla Desktop Guide. Alright, so first of all, what is CFG Lock? Why should you care, right? So config lock is a setting in your BIOS that essentially, when it's disabled, allows certain registers to be written to. And in our case, on macOS, there's two things that need to write to that register: the kernel and the Intel power management subsystem. So if we don't have this disabled, it means that the kernel and power management can't write there, and there's going to be things that are going to be wonky, unfortunately. So as per the guide, there's two ways to fix this. The first way, the lazy way, the wrong way, is to use some patches. The guide is very clear. These patches can lead to issues. So we don't want issues with our system. So we're going to do things the right way, even though it's a little bit more difficult. Okay? So let's go. So disabling config lock. So first of all, before you do any of this, just to be clear, you should go into your BIOS, look around to see if you can find a way to disable config lock directly in your UI. That's so much easier. Unfortunately, with my motherboard, the Gigabyte Aorus Master Z390, the option is not there. Okay? But you might be lucky and it might be there, and it's so much easier to just do it in your BIOS. The first thing we need is verify MSR E2. So open this in a new tab and you'll see it takes us to the Open Core package. So if you don't have it, download the Open Core package, get the release version. It's important. It's going to make your system faster instead of using the debug version. Then you're going to need the modified grub shell. So right click on it. Get this file here, modified grubshell.efi. Then you'll need the Uefi Tool. Make sure you don't use the pre-release version. You never know what could go wrong with that. So I'm going to be using 0280. Click on Assets and make sure you get the right file here. You want this one right here, the Uefi Tool mac.zip. Not replace, not patch. You want this one here. Okay. And the last thing is you want the universal IFR extractor. You get this file here, the OS10 file. So I already have these files, so I'm not going to re-download them, but I already have them on my system here. All right. So now the next step is to add these two files here, these two EFI files, to our config.plist file and to our EFI partition. So the first thing we need to do for that is to mount the EFI. So if you don't have the mount EFI tool, you can just grab it from this page here. I'm going to be posting all the links in the description. So you can just get it here, download zip. All right. So I'm going to start the mount EFI tool with the command line because I'm more comfortable with it, but you're more than welcome to do it with the Finder if that's easier for you. So in my case, I know that my EFI partition is actually on my boot drive. So I'm going to press B. Otherwise, you can select the partition you want at the top. So I'm going to press B, enter my password, and now it's mounted. All right. The next thing I'm going to do is press Q to exit this thing, and I'm going to open my EFI volume. Again, doing it from the command line. You're more than welcome to do it directly with Finder. You want to open the EFI folder, OC. Now you go in Tools. We downloaded two files before, the mud grub shell and verify MSR E2. The verify MSRE2 file, it's in the OpenCore package that we downloaded earlier. So I'm just going to show you where that is. Let's open another window. Mac Tools, OpenCore package, EFI, OC, Tools, right here. So you take this file, you copy it in the Tools folder in your EFI partition. So EFI folder, OC Tools. All right, so you would just drag and drop this here. I already have it, so I don't need to do that. And the next thing you would do is take the mud grub shell file that you downloaded previously and put it in Tools. Before this can even be activated, we need to open our config file, our config.plist file, to tell it that we want OpenCore to load these two EFIs at boot up. So the way to do that, once again, I like command line, proper tree. I'm going to do this, then volume EFI/EFI/OC/config. Okay. Or you can just double click on propertree.command in Finder if that's easier for you. Now we're going to, we see our config file here. Now you're going to do Command F for find and type tools. Enter. Now you can see I have 3 tools. You probably only have one. You probably only have OpenShell.efi. So you want to add these 2 other tools. So to do that, you would first click on Tools, right click, and then New Child under Tools. I already have them, so I won't do that, but that's what you would do. And then you need to add number 1 and 2. Okay, and just copy everything I have here. You don't need to copy the comments. Just make sure it's enabled. So I had it disabled, so I'm going to enable it. The 2 of them. Okay. So now when you have this, you go to File and Save. All right. The next step now is to reboot our system. And in the OpenCore menu at the very beginning, you want to select the Verify MSRE2 option in the picker. And this is going to tell you whether or not config lock can be unlocked on your BIOS. All right, so we'll be right back. Let's reboot our system. So when you're presented this menu, you want to select Verify MSRE2, and you will know if your system can unlock config lock if all the values on screen are the same. And in this case, they're all identical. Therefore, we can proceed to the next step. All right, so now that we determined that we can actually unlock config lock in our BIOS, we need to do a few things. The first thing we need to do is download the latest BIOS file from our motherboard vendor. So in my case, it's the Gigabyte Z390 Aorus Master. I'm going to click Support, click BIOS here, and I'm going to get the file for F11C because that's what I have installed on my system. Make sure you download the file that you have installed on your system. And this actually might be a good time to just upgrade your BIOS to the latest version. So now it's just downloading. All right. All right, the next thing we want to do is use our Uefi tool and double click on it to open it. Or if it gives you an error saying that it can't be opened because it's not trusted, just right click on it and then click open. Okay. Now you go to File, Open Image File, go to Downloads, and click on the folder with your motherboard's BIOS. As you can see, I cannot click on anything right now. So then you go to Options, select All Files, and here you select the file that you would normally flash to your BIOS. Then you click Open. Wonderful. Let's go back to our guide to see what's next here. So now it says that we have to search for this string here, config lock. And it says that if nothing pops up, then your firmware does not support config lock. So hopefully it pops up. All right, so I'm going to do Command F. You go in text, paste, and make sure Unicode is selected. Click OK. And now here we see that it says Unicode text config lock found. So we're in luck. So we're going to double click on this. And now you see that this PE32 line is actually selected. So we're going to right click on this and click extract as is. And we're going to extract this information to, I'm going to do it actually with my tools here, just so it's all in the same place. And we're going to call the file setup.bin, setup.bin. It's a binary file. Save. All right. Now the next thing we need to do is take the binary file and convert it to text so we can more easily read it. Thankfully, that's not too difficult either. So we're going to go to our terminal. I'm going to go with my tools again. So I'm going to run ifr extract. Input file is setup.bin. Output is setup.txt. Okay? And just for your information, if it's the first time you run this program, you might get an error saying that it's not trusted. So you will have to go in Finder, right click on it and click open. And then you will be able to open it from terminal. Okay. All right. So now it says that it's been written to setup.txt. So let's just see what it looks like. Beautiful. Okay. So now let's, it's right here. Let's open this file in a text editor. So I'm using Sublime Text. I would think that it probably works with TextEdit, but I just like Sublime Text better. All right. So now we want to go back to our guide, select this string here that we're going to have to search for. So I copy this information to the clipboard, Command F to search, Command V to paste, enter. Boom. So we found what we're looking for. And what we're looking for is actually this number here, this magical, beautiful number, 0x5C1. This thing here. Okay. And in the guide, their offset was 0x5A4. Okay. See, 0x5A4. But ours, oops. But ours is 0x5C1. Okay. So this is the command we'll need to run to unlock config lock. So I'm going to copy this here in the clipboard. I'm going to go here in my text editor. And all we have to do is take our offset and replace 0x5A4 with our offset. Okay. And this offset is the offset for my board for this particular BIOS version. So F11C for the Gigabyte Aorus Master Z390. So if you have exactly the same motherboard as me with the same BIOS version, this is your offset. But don't assume that it is your offset because it will change depending on your BIOS version, depending on your BIOS vendor, etc. Okay? So take this command here and write it down somewhere. Take a picture with your phone or whatever you need to do to remember it, because we will need to reboot our system and type it in the OpenCore picker. So let's reboot our system and then we're done. Now let's go to mod grub shell and type our magic command. And that's it. Now you can turn off your computer, turn it back on, and you're good to go. The only thing to keep in mind is that if you ever reset your BIOS, if you reload optimized settings or something like that, you will need to run this command again. So just keep that in mind. So congrats, we're done.